The damn character development from this morning is incredible. You swing from perfect human to absolute disgrace as the hour hands circle the clock.
I think that's a pretty good description of me,
I've
to
never
be
heard
honest.
Kevin speak so eloquently before.
Like it's actual poetry.
I-
Honestly.
I
Spewing.
kind of want to include that quote as part of the podcast now. Can I introduce it? Can we start? This is a
Yeah, I
cue
think that's a
of
good way to
sound,
open up.
and we're talking about Dan right now.
Yeah, I swing from a perfect human being to an absolute disgrace as the hour hands circle the clock.
Says Kevin, mind you, audience.
Yes, says Kevin about Dan.
Yeah.
My name is Luke. Also, we're talking about Foundation. That's what we read this past week. I'm all off the fucking charts today. This isn't good. My name is Luke, and I've got a couple napkins on my desk in
That's
case
nice.
I get wet. I can dry myself off.
I'm Nick, and I just changed my major to psychohistory.
Wow.
I'm Dan, and my brain is doing funny things to me.
That's
Dan, are you high?
pretty cool.
No. It'd be easier if I were.
Are we all dead tonight? Is this what's
I
happening?
think probably a little bit.
Was
Yeah.
Foundation too thick? Was Foundation a little bit too smart for us?
I think Harry Seldon was a little bit too fucking godlike for me.
Yeah, I think he kind of predicted that this would happen, and I think our death is like essential to the formation of the Second Galactic Empire.
Honestly, I think that's correct.
These are some good points, but we should introduce the plot before we get into the details. So,
yeah.
Foundation. It's 5 different short stories. I think it was the first one that wasn't published before the book itself was written. And then the other 4 were published in a science fiction magazine back in the 40s, which is a ridiculous amount of time ago, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is
Yeah.
so old, but it's so
Yeah.
good. It's
Very old.
sci-fi, wow.
It's old enough to the point where I'm like, man, I wonder how many of these words are being used for the first time. The answer turned out to be some of them.
Yeah. Asimov did invent the word robot.
Yeah, and positronic.
Yeah. I don't know I honestly don't know if I've heard positronic that much.
That sounds like an exclamation from the 70s.
It was used a lot in Star Trek when talking about robot brains.
That
Okay.
makes sense. I haven't really seen Star Trek.
Yeah. There's a lot of like influence in like sci-fi and sci-fantasy from this into other stuff.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Like Corellians, I'm pretty sure that was in Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's spelled with a C.
Oh,
So
never mind,
it's
completely different.
So let's
Yeah, I
see.
mean-
The 5 stories all have like somewhat significant time gaps, all centered around this guy Harry Seldon, who is around in the first story and dead in all of the other ones. And he just predicts like, hey, the Empire, the Galactic Empire that holds the whole galaxy together, it's gonna fall. It sucks. It's gonna turn into nothingness within 300 years. And everybody's like, you can't just predict that. And he's like, I just fucking did. Watch me. And then decides to make a scientific foundation that will hopefully make the Dark Ages be a little bit less bad for humanity.
Okay,
And-
yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's
I-
political
the-
intrigue.
The 300 years thing, I was confused because I like after reading, I listened to the audiobook version of it,
Mhm.
and in that one they said 5 centuries. So, and then later on I went into to the wiki to like refresh on all the stories, and they kept saying 300 years, and I was like, did I miss something? Like, where's this
That's
going wrong?
very
That
strange.
is a bit
Yeah, I don't know why they just said it wrong in the audiobook.
You sure you didn't get like a bootleg copy that was like translated from Chinese and back or something?
I mean, most of it sounded good. If it only that number was changed, that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah. The thing that threw me off was like at first it's like, oh, it's psychohistory. I'm like, okay, not psychology, not history. But then they just like refer it as like, oh, it's a psychological problem. And like that would throw me off quite a bit. I'm like, what? Why is it psychological? And I was like, no, it's just weird.
And also,
Or me.
he's like mostly a statistician.
Yeah,
It seems, which is
not a whole lot of psychology.
Yeah, he's like almost Sheev Palpatine levels of like being able to predict the future for his master plan.
Some of the predictions seemed pretty reasonable, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
we looked at the current state of the Empire and we think it's going to deteriorate. And it's like, okay, that's fair. But then some of the ways that people get, like, manipulated in these stories and, like, the specific events that, like, he lines up to make them both happen at the same time. It's like, what? How does he figure this shit out? How did he do this?
Like,
This is all just based on history. He's just like, yeah, I knew that guy was going to exile all of us to this planet at the edge of the galaxy instead of execute us.
Yeah.
It's like how?
Imagine
What part of history told you that?
like if that didn't happen, he would have just been like, well, I calculated like a 98% chance. I guess we're in the 2%. Sorry, guys. Everybody's dude.
Pretty much every like story in this book was just really bad situation, but one smart guy shows up and predicts exactly what will happen, and then he explains the solution like really smartly, like towards the end, and everyone's like, "Oh, it was so obvious."
Pretty much.
It's also kind of enjoyable. You know?
I mean,
it's nice that the stories are somewhat concise, because like if it was all like one large story that like didn't have those time jumps, I feel like it would be a lot. I don't know. I feel like it would be a lot less bearable.
Yeah,
but it also would have made more sense if it was one guy like Harry Seldon who was figuring all this shit out
That's
instead
true.
of like switching protagonists to different people who all make insane deductions and hot shake.
It's like he has the spirit of the hero from like Legend of Zelda, where it's the spirit of Harry Seldon just going through the timeline.
You know, that's not even a horrible theory, honestly.
I won't say any like spoilers or anything, but like one thing I kind of find neat is
we spoil things.
Yeah,
you don't need to not say
spoil it.
spoilers.
no for the second book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
I won't go into spoilers, but he does switch up his style, Asimov, quite a bit. Like, instead of doing 5 anthologies where, like, every story essentially follows the same pattern, he kind of just does, like, 2 stories. Like, it's only 2 short stories. And, like, he really doesn't follow any of the formula from this book. So I guess I'm not sure whether that was better or worse.
Huh. Interesting.
This is an appeal to the style.
I guess I liked having the time skips like that because you could see in a relatively concise way how things changed and developed over time when this is like a really large scale thing. I mean, in general, the whole book, each story will start and end with excerpts from the Encyclopedia Galactica, right?
Yeah.
And similar to that, it kind of feels like it's a big history thing, you know, like you're getting little excerpts of history that you get to see. And that's interesting. That's an interesting premise for a story because, you know, usually when you write a sci-fi story, it's just one single moment in time, or like, you know, you set it over like 10 years or something, not like 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool, like, once Seldon was gone, to still be able to see how his plan was like progressing from how he originally thought it would. Like, it was cool to see, like, it was cool to see the Foundation go from just a bunch of people trying to in like one city to basically another empire, like as he wanted it to. It was just cool to be able to see the whole development, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like all the stories kind of hit like all the things I love about like a good sci-fi story. Like, you got like the cool city planets, you got like the geopolitics mixed in with sci-fi. Like, I feel like Foundation's kind of like a very bare minimum distillation of like all my favorite concepts about sci-fi, which is kind of why I really like it.
Mm. Yeah, it definitely has definitely has some appealing aspects to it. I see where you're coming from.
One thing that was kind of noted in like the introduction or like the preface, I don't know what they called it, but basically it has very little like actual action, you know?
Mhm.
Like most of what seems like the exciting parts of the story happen in between the stories, but you
Mhm.
kind of get like the political intrigue of like people making the plans, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the Star Wars prequels.
I guess. The Star Wars prequels had some level of action, I think.
Yeah, I
In
guess a little bit.
Revenge of the Sith might have had a bit too much, if we're being honest here.
I
Yeah,
feel like they could
I
have
gotta say,
expanded
Foundation didn't have enough swinging swords in front of you, in front of the
Yeah.
characters.
I mean, there was no Darth Maul character to show up and like look evil and fight people. How am I supposed to know who's the bad guy? It doesn't make
Well,
any sense.
That guy Gerald in the elevator was pretty evil, presumably,
Yeah.
and he was only there for a little bit, so he counts enough as Darth Maul.
Did he get
I
cut in
think-
half?
Possibly. We don't know. We don't
I'm
know what he
pretty
does
sure
in his
that guy
spare time.
shows up at the end of the third book and turns out to be like the main antagonist the whole time.
So
Is
probably
this
not
a
Maul
joke?
then.
Yes.
I don't know. Anything's possible.
I haven't read the third book, so I have no idea. I've only read the first two.
Oh. How much do you guys want to bet Harry Seldon is still alive? And his holograms, when he when he tells them about things that are happening, and they're like, "Whoa, how did he predict this?" He actually recorded those like the day before, and that's why. You know,
So
I started saying that as a joke, but like that would be a great fucking plot twist.
If Isaac Asimov wanted to turn the series into like a comedy series, that would be a really good twist to make.
No, but come on. When they find Harry Seldon and he's like, "Yeah, my real passion wasn't psychohistory. It was immortality. I figured out immortality. This is what I really discovered. Yeah, I've just been sitting here this whole time. How's it going?"
That would be really impressive. I feel like that's more impressive than psychohistory.
yeah,
Yeah,
I would definitely
no, it
find
is.
that a bit more monumental.
But could we use psychohistory in real life?
If you get really good at statistics and probability.
I mean, if psychohistory was real, then yeah, that would probably be useful.
But could it be real? Could you make it?
Well, to be fair, like also
I
like
couldn't.
Harry Seldon did have like probably like 20,000 years of recorded history to like
That's true.
model his trends on.
Yeah, he had from basically one point of view as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, do you think
I
that they
think-
were recording all of that history though? Because they didn't know where like humanity started.
That's
You know?
true.
They
Well,
were like, "Oh, there's a
I-
theory that all of humans started on one planet, but like we're not 100% sure."
They
It's
probably
like, you
they probably
guys
don't
really
have
know that.
all of it, but they probably have at least like the 12,000 years that the Empire was
Yeah.
around.
That's what I
Yeah.
figured. But-
It's very weird to me, the idea that, I mean, there's kind of a lot of things that are weird about this, and probably the
Yeah.
result of being written in the 40s. But the idea that humanity went off into space, but like just kind of forgot to record where humanity came from, like that
Yeah.
just never was stored anywhere.
I
and
also-
also like became uncertain about evolution.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
also
like-
really funny that like they are a galaxy spanning civilization, but only a few of them have like nuclear power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some of them
In
are still
some-
going off of coal and stuff like that.
Yeah, so some of that makes sense, like, oh, we were able to put nuclear reactors that are, like, really fucking small, you know? And that's
Yeah.
like, ooh, that's future-y. But then, just in general, it seems like, yeah, like you said, people use coal. People, they constantly reference, like, tobacco. Like,
Yeah.
they've got cigars and shit. And it's like, what, you're
Even
telling me
tobacco.
Isaac Asimov couldn't predict the vape? Like, come on. It feels like it's such a sci-fi trope to just take something that exists in the real world, but then say, like, how could I make this technology instead? And that's essentially
Yeah.
what a vape is when you think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it doesn't really the Foundation world doesn't really seem super advanced besides like the space flight. Like everything else just seems kind of normal.
I mean, they
Like,
have
the way
like
people interact.
nuclear-powered laser guns.
I
which is,
guess.
like,
Yeah,
kinda
they also
cool. They
have
got
like force
shields.
fields, which
They
were
can
Yeah, I
fly,
guess.
the
That's
more
true.
advanced ones.
they've just got a very strange level of technology. They're like Star
Yeah.
Wars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It's like some places are still like, oh yeah, we have to shovel coal into the furnace, and some places are flying around shooting lasers with their nuclear-powered force fields.
Yeah, people be crazy. There were a lot of names in this book. I
Yeah,
didn't
there
remember
were.
a lot
Yeah.
of them. I wrote some of them down.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now on the wiki, and it's like really long, especially in
Yeah.
the mayor's story. Like that one had a ton of names for some reason,
Yeah, it did.
and also the flagship was the Weenus.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be Weenus or Winus.
I
It
think
really
it's
doesn't
Wine.
sound good
in the-
either way.
In the audiobook, they pronounced it Weenus, and I was like,
Oh, cool.
this is really good. They're like talking about trying to like take control of the Weenus, and I was like, how am I supposed to take this seriously?
Yeah, because that was the prince who was trying to take control in that story.
Yeah.
Was
Mhm.
Weenus. Imagine being ruled under King Weenus. Like, you probably wouldn't be able to take that seriously.
Yeah.
It sounds like something from a Monty Python skit, like a Monty Python movie.
What's so funny about Biggest Dickus? I happen to be very good friends with a Biggest Dickus. Did you
His
guys
wife
notice
loved
that
him.
it was mentioned at some point Terminus was established on March 14th, aka Pi Day?
That's
Oh,
exciting.
yeah, I did not realize that. That's funny.
I forget when they mentioned that, but I wrote it down, so it couldn't be wrong, right?
They probably mentioned it in the second story. If I had to
Probably,
bet.
yeah.
That
Oh
would
yeah,
make sense.
because I think they said they were expecting the vault to open on the anniversary of when it was established.
Yeah.
And
One thing I just kind of thought, it's funny how the the third story and the fifth story essentially have the exact same resolution. Just one's like religious capitalism, the other's like secular capitalism. But in both cases, capitalism was the solution.
yeah, the whole expansion of the Foundation is very weird to read just
Yeah.
because of the fact that they say, all right, I bet if we tricked people into converting to our fake religion, then we could get them to use nuclear power and shit. And it's like, all right, I mean, you do you, like, sure.
Man, I want to start to follow scientism.
I mean, it was basically, a nice little model of feudalism to, more early capitalism. Asimov, he studied his Marxism, I think.
Whoa, we can't say communist words around here. Kevin will
Well,
come in
actually,
and
he was
ban you.
investigated by the FBI. They thought he was the Soviet agent Rob Prof. Or Robe Professor. I don't know. It's spelled Rob Prof. There's a
That's-
Soviet spy they were looking for, and they thought it was him for a little bit.
That's really funny.
That's, yeah. Was
Imagine being a Soviet spy and then being like, you know what? I'm gonna start writing a bunch of science fiction novels, and then getting like super famous, and the FBI like finds out about you that way.
Yeah. He was a pretty prominent Democrat and liberal in the 60s and 70s. He's an interesting guy. I always thought he was Russian, but turns out he was born in Massachusetts.
That doesn't mean he's not Russian.
Well, his parents are Russian, but I always assumed he was Russian.
Oh, okay.
And I feel a little bad because it turned out he wasn't.
was he gay? I don't know why.
Oh no,
I thought
he was
gay.
born in Russia. What the fuck? Okay. He moved to the United States when he was 4 or
Okay.
3.
Did he speak Russian? I mean, I'm assuming he did.
His parents spoke Yiddish and English with him. He never learned Russian, though.
Really?
But he remained fluent in Yiddish.
That's pretty cool.
That's neat. Seems like a cool fella.
Yeah, he
Anyone
I
invented
don't know
see,
why I thought that he was gay. I looked on the Wikipedia page. It doesn't mention it.
I first read that section. It was like, yeah, I never really wrote about women because I never really saw any women. So like, oh, okay. But then like later down, it's like he was notorious for groping women. And it's like, oh, okay, you're just an all around weirdo.
That's
He was just an incel.
He was a very touchy fella.
That's not good. That's not what I like to hear about
Yeah.
cool sci-fi authors. Or really anybody. I mean, they don't have to be sci-fi authors.
I'm fine with you being a sexual harasser as long as you don't write cool sci-fi.
But I feel like it's always the sci-fi writers, you know?
They tend to be a bit odd.
What'd you say?
But they tend to be a bit odd, sci-fi writers. But did anyone see Trial of the Chicago 7?
No, I didn't.
No.
Oh. Well, the guy that Sarah Batcher Cohen played, him and Asimov met at one point, and they talked about each other. Thought that was neat.
Well, that's like multiple levels of things that I don't know about.
Oh.
You could keep going, and I wouldn't be able to dispute it.
Yeah, that's true.
You can say anything here.
Asimov said that he kind of didn't like him. He said he's like
he
said he
Isaac
rode
Asimov
an emotional
didn't like
wave
Sacha Baron Cohen
into a spiritual no man's land.
So you're saying Isaac Asimov was not a fan of the Borat movies?
No, he was not.
You know, Asimov said that Super Mario Sunshine is the worst Mario game.
Oh, how dare he!
Yeah, it's a fact. It was in one of the iRobot stories. You probably haven't read it.
It was in the movie Robots, the animated film,
yeah,
a few years ago.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that Asimov was he played every character in that.
Yeah, he played every character, directed and produced it.
He was also played all the Jim Carrey roles in unfortunate series of events. They just credited Jim Carrey because Asimov's kind of shy.
Man, Asimov is such a well-rounded media person.
Originally, it was a clerical error. Some intern had confused the two, but Asimov thought it was so funny, he told him just keep it. Yeah, pretty interesting guy.
At one point, he was actually the 17th man to walk on the moon.
Really?
Is he no longer the 17th man to walk on the moon?
No.
They took it away after realizing that he was on Mars instead.
It turned out that was actually Jim Carrey that time.
Oh, okay.
Should we talk about the actual book and not just fake facts about Isaac Asimov?
Wait, what's that fake?
Wait, I thought these were all real. Are you telling me that he didn't actually walk on Mars, then have that rescinded because it was actually Jim Carrey?
He actually walked on the sun.
Oh, okay. That's about right.
That's why he's not around to be on the podcast this time.
Yeah, we invited him and everything. We sent a letter to his estate, and they're like, he's dead.
Oh, we're like, oh shit, I forgot he walked on the sun.
No, I thought you just said he was taking a holiday on the sun. I didn't think he was dead.
Those were separate.
That's just what they say, like when your dog dies and your mom tells
taking
you
a holiday on the sun. Hey, Mr. Asimov, it'd be wonderful if you could join us on our podcast. Oh, we're sorry to inform you, he's taking a vacation on the sun. We're like, man. Better luck next time, I guess.
Our future sci-fi world, it'll be cheaper to launch our dead pets at the sun than flush them down the toilet. So, this can
flush them down the toilet. That's only for fish, Dan.
Dan, do you flush dogs down the toilet?
Depends on how big the toilet is.
I thought you were gonna say dog.
Have you ever had a toilet that is large enough to flush a dog?
It depends on the dog.
That's terrifying. I hate that. I don't like thinking about that. So what did you guys think of the characters and shit? I mean, Harry Seldon, cool guy or crazy?
Both.
He's a cool guy in the fact that what he did was impressive, but he's also an ass.
In what way?
He kind of tricked 100,000 people into being like, oh, this is a pursuit of pure science. Then he's like, lol, JK, I'm making a new empire.
Well, he tricked them, but most of the original people who were tricked would have been dead by then, so...
I mean, it was only 50 years later he revealed that.
Oh yeah, that was only 50 years. No, yeah, most of those people were probably alive.
Yeah, at least some of them. So I mean, it's not out of the question that they would be upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like looking at the actual time skips and being like, that's not as long of a time frame as I would expect.
Yeah, it was like 50 years, 30 years, 40 years, and 30 years.
Yeah.
You're really enhancing my experience here by just saying years.
It was 20 years, then 90 years, then 1 year, then 150 years.
How
Then 2
how
days.
long ago was 2015? That's the question.
60 years.
What the hell?
Shit. Like if this makes you feel old. Did you know? We're actually closer to the year 3000 than to the release of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Does this make you feel
Damn.
old yet?
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're almost to the release of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I'm
That's so
excited for when
exciting.
that happens. You know, I've never played it. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Dan, how could you have played it? It hasn't come out yet.
Well, time travel.
Oh, I see.
I mean,
The
to
game
be
has
fair,
not
you
come back
can
in
still
time to me.
you can still say you haven't played a game if it hasn't come out yet. Like Dan hasn't played Cyberpunk, and he probably never will because they're gonna
No,
delay it
coming
some
out.
more.
8 days. It's coming out this time. I'm going on the record saying it's gonna come out this time. There's no way it gets delayed. No way at all.
I'm going to post this video on the day it gets delayed.
I
No.
really want it to get delayed again now, just for this, just for the sake of this.
There's no way. I'm calling it. It's my Dan prediction.
You can't just put your name in front of something and that makes it a more legitimate prediction.
I
If
think
anything, it makes it a less legitimate
Yeah,
prediction.
I was gonna say, I think Dan saying it's a Dan prediction makes it almost guaranteed that it gets delayed.
Now, if
What?
this was like a Harry Seldon prediction, then holy shit, I would believe anything you told me.
You know, it's funny we mentioned Cyberpunk because when I first got into Cyberpunk, that sent me on my sci-fi reading binge that started with like Neuromancer and the Mote in God's Eye. But that like whole thing was what originally got me into reading Foundation. It's all full circle.
Last year, I started reading, I think the first chronological book, and it's about Harry Seldon trying to invent psychohistory. And
That's pretty cool.
It was kind of interesting, yeah. He's like baby in that one, compared to this one, he's like 90.
Baby
dead.
Seldon.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting. Like it's cool that a character who pretty much isn't actually in Foundation at all is like fleshed out so heavily. But also the book was somewhat less interesting because it was just a lot of like him going to different planets for a little bit, trying to be like, will this... Like, he set out with the goal of inventing psychohistory, right? He knew from the beginning that that's what he wanted to do. And so he was just going to different planets like, hey, do you think that I can learn something from this place for how to invent psychohistory? And then he, like, doesn't learn anything. He's like, shit, I didn't learn anything. I'll have to go to another planet because I'm, like, kind of on the run from the Empire, too. And then he leaves.
Oh, damn. The Empire kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does. It's weird how much of, like, I guess a necessary evil the Galactic Empire is in these books, because it seems like Harry Seldon should by all means fucking hate the Empire, you know? Like, yeah, these guys have completely ostracized me and, like,
Yeah.
like they fucking hate me because of my predictions, but we really need a second one, because otherwise we're barbarians. We are literal savages.
Yeah.
What about like a democracy? You ever think about that? You ever think about not having an emperor heading the galaxy? Like,
Well,
that's a
to be
possibility.
fair-
That is ridiculous. How can you have a sci-fi world without an emperor?
To be somewhat fair here, I guess the point was that like the bureaucracy of a galactic empire is kind of like impossible to run, and that was with a centralized authority. So I feel like a galactic-wide democracy would be very difficult to maintain in the context of the Foundation universe.
if it's so bad that it like always results in an empire, how about just don't have a galaxy-wide government? Like,
yeah,
that'd
it
probably
would
be a
also be
better
pretty
idea.
reasonable to just have smaller
yeah,
like states that act as democracies.
just
Yeah.
like
I mean,
local star clusters, and then
I guess, I mean, we don't really know. Like, maybe Selden wanted that, but knew that he couldn't influence history to just make that happen. You know,
Maybe.
Like, I guess that would be fair, but it's never really brought up as a possibility, at least not in Foundation book. I didn't finish the other one. I should clarify that. I only read like half
Okay.
of it.
maybe Harry Seldon in that one was like, man, I really hate republics, and also I really want one dictator of the entire galaxy. That was like part of his character arc.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's what Anakin Skywalker said.
Yeah.
I do think the first story does have some like nice modern day parallels though, with like instead of a galactic empire collapsing, like you got a bunch of scientists being like, "Yo, climate change, we're all fucked," and everyone's like, "Shut the fuck up." Like you get similar vibes from that courtroom scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always kind
that's
of enjoyed that
definitely true.
chapter.
Yeah, a lot of it seemed surprisingly topical
Yeah,
to now. Like, just talking about the kind of decline of Western government.
So when do you
That's
guys
somewhat
predict
happening.
the U.S. is going to fall?
50 years.
Right now.
Oh shit! Oh my god! Did you guys hear the news from right now? It's gone. The White House it just
Oh.
disappeared.
I knew it.
What about the Capitol building?
It's where the White House is supposed to be. We don't know why.
Oh shit!
Also, none of the congressmen are wearing pants.
What about the
no.
Congresswoman?
They're wearing pants.
Okay.
But some of them were wearing skirts before, so it's kind of weird still.
Okay. Everyone with skirts is now wearing pants. Everyone with pants is now wearing skirts.
Everyone with pants is now wearing nothing, and everyone with skirts is now wearing pants.
Huh.
Interesting.
This
you
is
have
all
to
from that
wonder who did
news
this
article.
and from what was their goal? Why did they do this?
Yeah.
They wanted to make the Congress not have pants, I think.
Whoa. Well, I mean, some people have pants now. Some people.
It
they
wasn't a
get
total
pants.
success.
They wanted to
Oh, yeah.
redistribute the pants, but instead they just took the pants from everyone and gave them to people who didn't have pants. So, like, the pants disparity is still the same.
Yeah, this is a good old-fashioned seize the pants of production type of deal.
Yeah. Pants of politics.
I don't-
I wonder.
I don't know how we got here.
Well, because it was a very topical
You don't need
book,
to
so
explain how we got here, Jay. Let's just get back to Foundation.
So, remember that courtroom scene in the fifth one where, like, the traitor guy took all the councilman's pants?
No.
Are we? Okay.
I do remember the Merchant Prince. What an asshole. A lot of
He
people
wasn't
were
bad at that.
assholes in this, I thought.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you deal with like galactic politicians.
Yeah, that's true. When are we gonna get a galactic politician who's just like a really swell dude?
I mean, that one, the narrator in the first story, he seemed pretty wholesome.
Yeah, but he was just a
Seemed
mathematician.
fine. He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything good though. He
He
didn't do
watched what
anything that
happened.
made me think, "Wow, this guy is really top notch moral character here."
He did some impressive like mental math though, so I guess that's something.
He
Yeah.
was polite to strangers.
Also true.
Polite to strangers. Anybody can be polite to strangers. It's being polite to people you know that's really impressive.
He was
Because I
polite
fucking
to
hate
people
you
who-
guys. I'd never be polite to you.
Aw.
I'm polite
I
to strangers
appreciate
all
that.
the time.
Well, maybe you'd make a good politician then.
You know what? No, I wouldn't. Politics are like that's. I'm not brave enough for that. Doesn't make sense.
Oh, so you're a Jedi.
Well, I'll go take
Sure.
my day of glory.
What?
Why are you getting glory? Where'd that come from?
I took your plan. That's
Oh, okay.
never mind.
I.
I'll go back to the temple.
So you guys know when Asimov's gonna write more books?
I think he said he's going to try to get something out with Cyberpunk.
Oh, nice.
So never.
8 days.
Oh yeah. Also, I just saw in the Wikipedia article for Asimov, there's a whole section for behavior towards women.
Yeah.
That's not
What
a
the
good
hell?
section to have.
No.
Oh my god. Why is there's so much to say about his behavior towards women that they need an entire section?
Yep.
What
Yeah.
the hell? What is wrong with him?
Oh, on
don't know, dude.
another interesting section, if you're on his Wikipedia page, is his writing style, which explains a lot. He said, "I would always come up with an ending first, and then just write to make that ending happen."
He's a
that
Republican.
makes enough sense.
He also said he only ever wrote with an outline once, and he said it was like playing piano from inside a straitjacket. He was not a man for organization.
Huh.
Do you think he actually played piano though? Like,
I don't know. Do you
I
think
mean,
he
there
got
was
it
what
in
it's
a
like to play
straitjacket?
piano with a straitjacket?
There wasn't very much to do back then, so I mean, might as well
yeah,
just
but
play piano.
all of these stories, you definitely do get the sense that he was just like, man, it would be a really cool moment if like this happened at the end, and this guy was like, ha, I knew you would do that. I took that into account, and I planned this
Yeah.
ahead of time, and now look what's happening. And he's like, huh, how can I set that up?
It's like Ocean's 11 in sci-fi book form.
I guess, yeah.
It's more like if some guy developed some sort of way to predict everything based on the history.
That would be an interesting sci-fi novel. Somebody should write about that.
They should write a whole series about
Also, it said that this won, like, a Hugo Award for, like, best book series. Best all-time series in 1966.
Best all-time series?
Yes.
the original trilogy. Got that.
Yeah,
Not
and
like all the extra stuff.
and he said he didn't expect it to win because he thought that Lord of the Rings would win. And
That's reasonable.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
a little bit fair, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I gotta say, I think Lord of the Rings deserves it a little bit more.
I
I
agree with that.
I very much enjoyed what I read in Foundation, but I'm not sure that I would say, like, yes, this is the best all-time series.
He did admit to being a big Lord of the Rings fan, but also one thing I thought was really funny was he was really good friends with Arthur C. Clarke, and they would argue over who was the better science fiction writer. So eventually they agreed that Asimov was the best science writer, but Clarke was the best science fiction writer.
I have heard of Arthur C. Clarke, but what did he write? What did he do?
No idea.
He did something.
Cool. Apparently he co-wrote the screenplay for 2001.
Oh, Arthur C. Clarke, I think, was gay. Because I looked up Arthur C. Clarke, and the first image is a GIF of him with a gay flag behind it.
Huh.
Oh, wait.
Well,
Hold on.
that's interesting. That's cool. Good for him.
Maybe that's how you thought.
Oh yeah,
Asimov
yeah.
was
So, so it does mention here that Arthur C. Clarke was indeed gay. No,
Okay.
I definitely didn't know that this guy was gay. I don't know. I wish I could tell you.
Maybe you just got those vibes from Asimov. It's just
I
something
did get those
that you
vibes
felt.
from Asimov. I mean, it did mention like. Wait a minute. Let me quote this directly from Wikipedia so that I'm not just so. Furthermore, he believed that homosexuality must be considered a moral right on and get his reasoning here on population grounds, as must all consenting adult sexual activity that does not lead to reproduction. Look, this is what happens when you read too much Thomas Malthus. You're like,
Yeah, I was about to say.
Gay sex is cool because then we don't have kids, and the gay people are like, also because we get to be happy, and he's like, well, that too, but like you're not having kids, that's why it's good.
That was the plot of a South Park episode. It's really funny.
Really?
Yeah,
Guys, we don't have enough food. We need to have more gay sex.
the plot was that immigrants from the future were coming back into the past because the future sucks so much. So all the alt-right people said we have to stop them. So we'll all become gay, so they're never born, and there won't be any more immigrants.
Cool. You know that there was so there was 2001 A Space Odyssey, but then it had a sequel novel called 2010 Odyssey 2. That's just really weird to me.
And then there was actually a threequel that came out a few years ago called Super Mario Odyssey.
Wow, I knew exactly where that was going.
They all
expected.
They all have very similar tones, I believe,
Yeah.
at least.
Well, they're all a sequel to The Odyssey in the end.
Yeah.
But then again,
All-
isn't everything?
All starring Homer Simpson.
Uh-huh, of course. So if you had psychohistory, what would you do with it?
I would probably try to find out, using math, obviously, the winning lottery tickets and then get some money.
I would probably do nothing with it.
As bullshit as that would be to the resolution of one of these stories, I wouldn't even be that surprised. If somebody's just like, well, you see, Harry Seldon predicted what the winning lottery numbers would be 500 years in advance, and he put them in a little box and hid them, and I just got them, and that's how I made all my money. And everyone's just like, what the fuck? Okay.
Why did Harry Seldon care so much about 500 years specifically, or 300 years, or whatever?
He cared about a lot of things.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
He cared about the Empire, because without an Empire, there's no galaxy. Really, when you think about it.
He probably didn't care about women.
Yeah,
Probably
probably
not.
not.
A whole lot.
You know what? Is it bad that before the women thing was brought up, I didn't even think about the fact that there are, like, no women at all in these stories?
Yeah, the second book, though, the protagonist of the second story is a woman. But
That's good.
Impossible.
Yeah. I like something felt weird about it, but I didn't pinpoint that it was because there are no women. Something felt kind of strange. I was like, why does this feel like it feels wrong? Just listening to this story, I don't know.
Yeah. When I look at Hollywood writers and directors, I'm always like, something feels wrong. It's because there's no women. And you know what? It's an injustice.
Well, there are some now.
There are some
that's
now.
good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Guess that's put that on your list of things that have happened in the modern day.
No.
That'd be a really weird list.
Let's things that have happened in the modern day. 1. Some
What?
women are directors.
What counts as the modern day? Do we
Right
have to
now.
like keep this up to date? Like we have to delete anything that's too not modern?
Well, no, if it has the modern day in like the title, then that means it's modern.
It's modern day. You can't say that on television. That's what people say.
I actually think it's the medieval ages right now. I think we've been misled.
Isn't there some theory that's actually like that, like some conspiracy theory that like there was a span of time in history that didn't actually happen, and
I can see it.
and like we're too far ahead in the years?
Have you ever seen The Village by M. Night Shyamalan? Where, like, spoilers for this, it's a Shyamalan twist, but, like, it's
I know
about
of it,
people
yeah.
living in a Puritan village or something.
Yeah.
But it's, like, an observatory for, like, modern-day humans, and, like, that's the big twist at the end. We're in something like that, but the reverse. We're, like, in an observatory for a bunch of medieval peasants watching us pretend to live this future life.
So you're saying the medieval peasants made all of this incredible technology for us just so that they could like see what happened?
It's
Well,
all just an optical illusion. A
Well,
really good one.
I think the theory here is that the modern technology is just worse than like primitive technology somehow.
They went back after a while.
They created it, and they were like, "Oh man, this stuff kind of sucks. Let's go back." And then they're like, "We can't just get rid of it. We put so much effort into it. Like, okay, let's create a weird test tube land where people use technology sometimes."
Imagine humanity inventing computers, and modern medicine, and like telephones and stuff, and being like, "Man, this sucks. I want to go back to feudal society."
maybe our like vision of feudal society is like completely wrong, and like feudal society was like super good for everybody.
I was gonna say, to be fair, it kind of seems like that's what happens in Foundation. It seems like people just get bored of technology really easily and then go back to fighting with sticks and using coal.
Yeah.
Nuclear? Psh, never heard of it. I don't even care.
They were all really bad around Christmas, so they kept getting coal from Santa, so they said, let's use this instead of, nuclear technology.
Eventually, Santa is going to give the bad kids plutonium. Not plutonium. Specifically not plutonium.
Yeah, what are we? Our ancient nuclear engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird moment. That happened.
They were like, haha, I know these guys don't have nuclear power because they didn't correct me when I said plutonium.
Imagine, so, are they speaking English in this, or are we meant to assume that this is being translated from some future language?
I don't think that much thought was put into it.
At that point, I don't really think it matters much.
That's fair.
Like as long as it's one standardized language that can be translated to English, then I mean, I guess it's which clearly either it's English or it's that. So
they had
we know they got accents and stuff.
They had the one character who was from another planet, and like he spoke in like an Awo voice, like all of his R's were W's.
Oh yeah, I remember.
No, that wasn't his accent. That was just like he had like
that was a speech impediment.
Nose. Yeah.
Yeah, the narrator for the audiobook sounded hilarious when he was trying to do that.
I thought he was speaking that way because it was meant to be like regal.
No,
I didn't think he was sick.
Because like you go to that planet, it's like you go to the planet and like the next story and like hear the king talk and stuff, and no one else talks like that. It's just him.
Which just changed over time.
There's only like a 30-year difference.
I'm saying I don't think he was sick. I don't think that was the explanation for that he had a lisp. I think he just. I'm
pretty sure it was
like that.
It was either an impediment or he was sick.
I'm pretty sure it was a speech impediment that they just like didn't really explain very much. I don't know.
And he just talks like this the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, Mr. Soden.
I think he meant Mr. Soden.
I don't think so either, but I couldn't remember the name of the guy he would have met.
Yeah, I mean, Selden was dead like 2 years after the first story.
Yeah, rip him.
Rip him? Why would I do that?
Rip and tear.
That's what happened. They ripped him to shreds.
Oh, holy shit, that's awful.
Yeah, all 100,000 of his friends grabbed a piece of him and just pulled.
His 100,000 friends. Jesus Christ, that's brutal. It was like a fucking wishbone here.
Whoever got the biggest piece got to be the emperor.
Oh yeah, I found a quote by Isaac Asimov. It was about his robot series, but I think it actually applies pretty well. Robots are made of metal. Humans are made of skin. Robots run into stuff without the sensors. They help it see the wall before they run into it. And robots only have specific types of sensors for them.
Oh god.
Where did you even find that? Where is that? Where is it?
It's pinned in cubic inch.
Oh.
I was looking at suggestions.
Oh, I see. Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
For those who don't know, I'm pretty sure that was a answer to a class question in a robotics class in high school.
It was in a robotics class. The question asked, "What is the difference between a robot and a machine?" And somebody responded by saying, Robots are made of metal, humans are made with skin. Robots run into stuff without the sensors, they help it see the wall before they run into it. And robots only have specific types of sensors for them.
And that, kids, is the difference between a robot and a machine.
According to Isaac Asimov.
I would like to see a deep fake of Asimov saying that. But also, I don't know if there's a lot of recordings of him.
I think he went on television a couple times.
That's being on television a couple times is probably enough for at least like a mediocre deepfake.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we can just wait a little bit.
He was on the Dick Cavett show 4 times. He was there for the coverage of Apollo 11 in 1969.
It's kind of cool.
That's exciting.
He interviewed with David Frost.
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy who interviewed Nixon.
He's also the guy who interviewed Asimov, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, Asimov and Nixon.
Coincidence?
They did hate each other.
Interesting.
Well,
Asimov and Nixon?
Well, Asimov hated Nixon.
Oh,
I
guess that makes sense considering how you described his political beliefs.
He was a hippie.
Hey, so would you guys recommend Foundation to a friend or an enemy?
If they like sci-fi, I would.
Yeah.
What if it's an enemy?
I would recommend it to an enemy.
I would recommend it.
Cool.
Well, if they like sci-fi, I'd probably still recommend it just in case.
I think that I would recommend it under the pretense of, like, if you want Star Wars-y action, then you're definitely not, that this isn't what you're looking for, but, like, if you're fine with just the interesting concepts and the politics, then, yeah, you'll like this. It's interesting. It has politics.
Yeah, I
it's
agree
like
with
the
that. It is just like the prequels.
Oh, that's what George Lucas was going. I see it now.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of what he was going for. He's going for something like this.
George Lucas, the entire time, was just trying to create like a spiritual successor to Foundation, but accidentally created Star Wars instead.
Shit, I hate when that happens. That's a classic blunder right there. Like, everybody's made that mistake.
Oldest trick in the book. Get someone to accidentally create Star Wars.
Haha. Oh yeah, they're turning this into a TV show, right? Like on Apple or something.
Yeah. I'm not sure how they're gonna do that.
What is it? Apple TV?
Yeah, I think so. That could work if it's like just a miniseries.
Yeah, like you could do a good anthology.
Yeah, if it's like 5 or maybe like probably 5-episode miniseries would probably work for this.
I read up on this, like, it was probably like a year, maybe more ago when they announced it, but I want to say they were planning on doing like a single story version of it.
Interesting.
But I would have to double check that.
I don't know how you would.
They're just gonna do. They're just gonna do the part where like Selden and Gale are on. What was it? Trantor. Just.
They did. But there's actually some footage.
Oh, huh.
Holy shit! It's a 2-minute. That's a full-on trailer. I thought it was a teaser.
So, I mean, just based on the wait a minute, what? I'm so confused here. So, it seems like they'll probably. I mean, if I had to guess, it would make sense to have it be about Selden himself if they wanted to make it just like one story. But then I don't really know, like, because Selden isn't really in the Foundation trilogy much, you know?
No. He's just kind of like...
They cast... So according to Wikipedia, at least, they cast Gal Dornick, who is the guy from the first story, and also Salvor Hardin, who's the mayor in the second and third stories.
The trailer doesn't actually look terrible. I mean, there's this one line where a guy says, if there's any company that wants to better people's life with technology, it's Apple. and everyone was making fun of that line.
Wait, okay, except I should mention, according to this list at least, Salvor Hardin is being played by a black woman, which is definitely a departure from what I would expect, since he was definitely male in
Everyone was
Asimov.
male in the movie.
But
I mean, in the book.
yeah, it's a little bit fair to be like, hey, maybe
Yeah.
we don't need this many men.
Yeah, that's not a bad move.
I guess.
Isaac Asimov envisioned the movie version with a bunch of white men just running around on screen.
Probably.
Yeah.
To be fair, I
He'd
don't
be-
think they
he'd
really
be
mention.
shaking and crying.
I don't think they really mention race at all.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I think they mentioned that like the last guy, the merchant prince, like he has like really dark skin. They described him as.
Oh yeah, they did say that.
But
Okay.
aside from that, there wasn't a whole lot of mention.
Okay, just men in general then.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
Either
Bit of
way,
a fun
Asimov
party.
would be shaking and crying right now.
Yeah, probably.
Let's see.
That's good to know. Whenever I am about to do something, I think, would this make Isaac Asimov like be really scared? Would this make him spin in his grave? And if yes, I do the thing.
There are worse methods to live by.
So anyway, you guys ready for our recommendations?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. So reminder that it's bringing back the recommendations time. That
Mhm.
means we're only gonna bring back recommendations, and not books. But I don't think we have to worry about that because all we have is like the Bible, the Halloweener, and the Ninja graphic novel.
I don't think we're gonna make
I
it
was-
through the Bible.
You're really three of the same thing. It's all just the
Yeah.
Bible. I'm going to recommend 10 Stories. This was a suggestion from Kyle. It's by the band Me Without You. I don't really know much about it other than it has 10 stories, but I think it has 11 songs, so I don't know how that works.
Maybe this is a prelude.
Perhaps.
That'd be exciting.
Perhaps. But you know, it was one of the first album suggestions, and I was like, it sounds interesting. It sounds interesting to me. So I'm curious.
Yeah,
I don't know how else
that's
to
fair.
describe it because I haven't listened to it before, and also I don't know what to say about a music other than the fact that it's indie rock.
All right, interesting. As it is December, I think I'm gonna suggest Nightmare Before Christmas. Wait, was I the one who suggested that before, or was that somebody else?
No.
Uh,
I don't know,
I'm
just go for it.
I'm realizing that I might have suggested that before.
I mean, I want to say like that sounds right, but like I don't know. It could have been anyone. I don't think it was
Alright.
me. I
don't
can
think
say it wasn't me. It might not be true, but I can say it. And just go. for it, I don't
Well,
care. Unless you have another suggestion that you're fine with. Actually, wait a minute. I can find this out. Hold on.
Okay.
I just remembered that I have I have a spreadsheet where I list who suggested what too.
Oh, that's
I'll
nice.
I'll make my suggestion while you do your research.
Go ahead.
Good idea.
I think I'll go with the Princess Bride, just because I'm
Okay.
in the mood for a light-hearted adventure where I laugh a little bit.
Nick,
Not
you
too
did
much.
suggest Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, I definitely agree with my past self then.
So what
And
what we have learned is that past Nick and future Nick are like pretty in sync, you know? Suspiciously so.
Okay. Well,
Kevin-
in that case, I will suggest Gaslight, because I'm pretty sure that was Dan.
Yeah.
It was. Kevin had also brought back a suggestion for today, and his was Highway Blossoms.
No.
Why no?
Because no, I'm for that. Yeah, we can have it on.
Dude, I'm totally for that. I was the one who said this really needs to get brought back, but I can't suggest it because... Oh, Kyle's typing. I can't
'Cause
suggest
Kyle's
it because
typing.
I was the one who suggested it.
Okay,
Yeah.
what if Kyle's about to suggest something?
Dude, it's so late. I mean, we're in the middle of the recording here. He's not allowed to do that. You
But what
think
if
he's
it's a
listening
really
live
good
despite the fact that we don't
suggestion?
broadcast it live?
I hope so. That would be cool.
Oh.
Oh,
How did he know
he was
that we
close.
just said Highway Blossoms?
He's listening.
For reference, he said, "I can't compete with Highway Blossoms comeback week. I'll have to save my suggestion."
Anyway, so we can run through these and just say we'll say just person by person whether we're okay with each of them.
Yeah.
Personally, I really don't care about Gaslight. Honestly, I have no interest in it. I'm pretty
That's
much
fair.
fine with the other ones. Like 10 Stories, I brought it back. Obviously, I'd want to do that. Princess Bride, yeah. I mean, I feel like I saw it not too long ago, but that's kind of not true. It was like a year
Mhm.
ago. It was like more than a year ago. Highway Blossoms, I'm so down. I'm 100% down. I really want to play Highway Blossoms again just to talk about it on here.
Yeah. I honestly, personally, I don't feel like doing Princess Bride, but I'm good with everything else. I'm definitely good with Highway Blossoms. I'm very excited at the prospect of that.
I'm good with everything except 10 Stories.
Okay,
Okay.
so I think... Wait, so Nick, you said you were good with everything except Princess Bride, or...
Yeah.
So we actually each eliminated one thing except for Highway Blossoms. So I guess we're doing
Perfect.
Highway Blossoms.
Very nice.
Oh, boy.
That's kind of funny. Damn, alright. You guys better buy that game, also.
Wait, oh fuck.
What did you expect?
I don't know.
So, can we just do it like as a group? Does anybody own it already?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kevin and I both own it. We can
Okay,
definitely we can try to do it as a group. I don't know if we'll have time to, but
Yeah.
that's to figure out outside of the podcast.
It is
it's
just a visual novel.
It's $13 right now.
Okay.
I mean,
Can I
you
just
can
look up
also
a
just
Let's Play?
I'm sure, yeah, you can look up like a long play that doesn't have commentary,
That's true.
and it's pretty much the same experience, but like you also kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I did with the Ace Attorney games back in the day. I
Okay.
bought the first one, and then all of the other ones I just watched long plays of them. I always kind of felt like I should have given Capcom some more money, but like I ended up buying them on 3DS, so it's okay. It's alright.
Yeah. We definitely got to end up doing a fan dub of Highway Blossoms.
That'll be our grand finale.
Grand finale.
Grand.
I would actually fucking love to do that. We should.
That would be. I mean, we kind of did it before. It would be really fun.
The problem is we couldn't release more than like a couple scenes because then it's just the game. You know, we can't
do
do
a
the whole
highlights.
thing.
Why not? It's just a long play.
Yeah, but then that I don't know. I don't like that.
Can we do Highway Blossoms, but the AI are self-aware?
I mean, okay. So Highway Blossoms is made in like a visual novel engine, right? I've found a tool that lets you from the files of the game extract like just the sprites and stuff.
Okay.
And hypothetically, you could use that same engine to create a game using the same
Oh boy.
all the same like assets, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, man, I could like totally make a Highway Blossoms fan fiction that's like a game, you know? That's like in the same exact style as Highway Blossoms.
Yeah.
That would be so good. It would be fun.
We should do an episode of this podcast, but in Highway Blossoms.
Oh boy, that would be interesting. That would take a while to make,
Probably. Yeah.
but it would be cool.
Wait, what did you say?
Like
do,
maybe like a scripted episode of the podcast that is like in Highway Blossoms.
We all take over the various characters we voice, and we have to do it in those voices.
I was the narrator, so I don't know who I'm gonna voice.
I was the blonde girl. I forget her name.
Marina.
Marina. Yeah, it was her.
I was gonna say marinara.
I'm marinara.
Anyway, if you have an email, if you have a suggestion, email it to us at acubicangelssound@gmail.com. To be
If you
fair,
have
you
an
do
email,
need an
use
email
it.
to do that.